All right. So you have just watched The Greatest Showman, one of my all time favorites, along with High School Musical, but we won't go there. So, anyway, have you ever been in that situation where you were like thinking it was the most amazing show you were performing for your students in your class, and then you look around and there's like no audience to you? Kids are looking around, they are doing all kinds of stuff, and you're like, hey, I put a lot of effort into this and I want it to be, noticed and done. But anyway, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today is uncaged and engaged and different strategies that will actually help you with engaging your students. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm just not feeling like myself today. Actually, I'm kind of feeling like a little mad hatter. Wish I could take off my glasses, but then I couldn't see anything. But anyway, you get the effect. Now, imagine me walking into my classroom like that to teach my lesson. I think that would be a little crazy, and I think the kids would enjoy it. I know it sounds silly, but we want our kids to stretch out of their comfort zones. And you know what? We have to model the same thing for ourselves, and we have to model it for our kids. So, anyway, let's get started. So, this is Uncaged and Engaged. This is an acronym that I came up with to help with engagement strategies. And so, when we think about our engagement, we think about our learning experience, our Will's Point learning experience. And we've got the purpose, and then we have our discovery and evaluate, and then our reflection piece. But centered in everything is an engagement piece. That means every piece of our experience should be focused on our engagement and engaging our students. David Burgess is a author, and you may know him. He did the book Teach Like a Pirate. He's a big speaker, great person on Twitter. He has lots of great things, always sharing. But his mantra is basically don't teach a lesson, but create an experience. And that's what you have to do. Every day should be a new experience for the kids because you don't forget experiences. You may forget a lesson here and there and things like that, but an experience, man, you always remember how that made you feel, how you were thinking about things. It's an experience. It encapsulates everything that you do. And that's what we want to do for our kids is we want to engage them in everything that we're doing. One reason I came up with this uncaged is I was one of those teachers that I didn't like being put in a box. I know we had the scope and sequence, and I know we had the teaks and things like that, but I always wanted to pull myself out of everything that we were doing. I didn't want to be caged in. And that's kind of where this comes from is stretching outside of that cage of, oh, let's do this every day, let's do that, but really letting these kids loose and really being engaged in what they're learning about and experiencing. So I'm going to walk you through my little acronym, and hopefully you'll take something away. Once you're done with this activity, if you notice the whole PDF was the Wills Point Learning Experience is almost like a hyperdoc, just jazzed it up a bit. But you did the purpose, and then you here's the discovery piece, and then you're going to do an evaluation piece that you'll spend time doing, and it's a Google form, and then you'll have a Padlet as a reflection. So that'll involve everything that you need to do to get credit for this course. And I hope you enjoy, and I hope you just walk away with some different things that you can do in your classroom to really get the kids engaged. So welcome, and let's get started. Okay, so the U is going to start for unusual and mysterious. Now, we know that our brains love things that are unique and mysterious, and it always gets our minds racing. One thing that you can do, whatever you're doing with your lesson or anything like that, is maybe you can find a connection and hide an object in a bag. You have something setting up there, and you're teaching and you're talking about things, and kids are looking like, what in the world do they have in that bag? What's going on? And then it's like, oh, well, why don't you go check the door and make sure that nobody's coming, because I'll probably show you this in just a little bit. Sorry, that was a fly. So anyway, you could do anything like that. And if you keep having them ask, while the coast is clear and checking on those kind of things, that's going to really rev up the kids. They're just like trying to figure out what's going on, what is in that bag. I will tell you, I wanted to do a vocabulary lesson one time. It just basically about the relevance of it, why it's so important to learn the academic vocabulary we were doing. And so my dad is a motorcycle rider. He does, he's a part of the Patriot Guard right now, and which is they basically hold flags for funerals and veterans, and they help with the procession and things like that. But of course, motorcycle terms are so different, and a lot of kids don't know those things. So I borrowed his jacket or his cut, if you will, and that's their vest. And so then we talked about terms that motorcycle people would use. And so the kids were so engaged with that because then I pulled out the jacket. And so they were just like, oh my goodness. And they were just like oohing and ahhing over this. They had no idea that I was really teaching them about vocabulary and what we were doing. And so then we started talking more and more about things and the importance of vocabulary. And so it was just a fun lesson. But they were so engaged with everything that we were doing because they were just so focused on that object in that bag for a while. You could also have like a quote on the board. Why does that teacher have that quote up there? What is it going to tie back to? They're wanting to listen to figure out the connection. Our brain just basically wants to connect everything. And so when you throw something odd in there, it really engages them because they want to make those connections. You could also give clues and have them, maybe talk in different groups about what would be the lesson if you gave them like 5 clues. What vocabulary are we going to learn about? Or, what type of system are we going to learn about? Anything like that. So the U is basically for unique and mysterious. And just think about ways you can add that uniqueness or that mysterious piece to your lesson. And that's part of engagement. All right, so now we're going to move on to the N. All right, and this is novelty. Novelty is when you are changing things up. So I know you have routines and procedures and things that you're constantly doing in the classroom, which is great because that's all about classroom management. Novelty is something that will spice up your class because it'll change things up a little bit. We get in a rut sometimes of routine and routine and routine. Well, the kids go in the class, they sit, they get their book out, they, all these different routines that they're doing, change it up a little different. Have them walk in, have all the, desk rearranged, change the environment, take them outside to do the lesson, take them to the gym if you have access, or even the stage at the high school. How fun is that? Obviously, I like stage stuff. But anyway, play music as they're entering. It could be relating to the whole lesson. It could be relating to anything like that. So, you could do choice boards for activities. You don't even have to do like the same thing that you're doing every week. You might spice it up and change it into, hey, today you're going to get to pick the 2 activities you want to do for the week. Using a spinner to decide lesson activities. You can find these on the internet and you can have all the activities and they could spin for the day, and that's what you do for the activity for the day. So introduce a new technology that you want to do to your classroom. That is novelty, and that is changing things up, and their brains are going to go crazy because it'll be like, oh, we were used to that, and they'll spark something different in their head. And so that's exactly what novelty will do. Sorry if I'm not looking right at this, but the webcam is in the corner of this laptop, so it's kind of odd. So anyway, let's put you right back. Okay, next one is the C for creativity. Okay, so as educators, we actually are the ones that are the creative pieces a lot of the times. We create the lesson, we create the product they're going to produce, we create all the activities, we create even handouts or whatever. We put a lot of creativity in some of this stuff, but sometimes we need to back it up and we need to let the kids be creative. We can have them create the choice boards. Maybe there's criteria that you want them to accomplish, like they need to have so many pieces of this or anything like that, and let them come up with the products or the choice boards that they can do. Sometimes them just being creative can be like a makerspace center. That can be where you just put out lots of materials and they're creating something out of it. It doesn't have to have a lot of parameters. It can just simply be them creating. And that can be just one center that they rotate around to. So just doing some creativity pieces and letting them produce a lot of things that they're doing. I know that as an activity one time, my daughter, she was actually doing a commercial, and I told her she had to do a commercial for the benefits of different types of like powers, like electric powers, like solar power, all that kind of stuff. And anyway, so she ended up making a TikTok, and it was so good. And I never told her that was the platform she needed to use or she needed to just make a video. She created all of that on her own. And it's because I just said she had to make a commercial. I didn't tell her what she had to do with it or anything like that, but she made the most amazing little TikTok. And it was so fun and so funny to watch because it really was all about her creativity with it. And it was really, really great. All right. So just think of some ways you can incorporate that creativity in the classroom. All right. A, this is where we go with authentic. Our brain is like a giant filing cabinet. So information has to be presented in a way that it deems itself useful to be filed away. So if we don't put those authentic and relevant pieces in about why they need to learn these kind of things, then their brain just might throw it out. Who knows? So they have to have some kind of connection piece to it so we can understand why we need to know it. One big thing is storytelling. Storytelling is huge. If you think about history, that's how traditions and things were learned of people's cultures was through storytelling. That's exactly what was done. I mean, you could even relate it back to the Bible with all the parables. So storytelling is huge, and giving kids stories and connections that they can make about authentic pieces that they're trying to learn, that's very big. And it really helps their brain connect and put things away where it needs to go. Share how a lesson is connected to their future. What are some centers that they would have to do? Or maybe what are even some careers that are connected to what they're learning about. Is it plants? Oh, did you know that a botanist studies all kinds of plants? If you're really into plants, then you can do that. Okay. So connecting those pieces, why do I need to know this stuff? And just all those future skills that they may need to know. You have to learn this piece so then we can move on to this piece. Using real life objects or scenarios. I know that one of my daughters, they constantly say, I don't know why I have to do these silly story problems in math. I don't need to know that, Bob has 500 watermelons. Because that doesn't make sense in her world. But if you use real life objects or real life scenarios, if they're learning about area and perimeter, how can they redesign their class, or not their classroom, but redesign their bedroom using the parameters of their bed or using their dresser or, things like that. And they're finding the area and the perimeter and things. I mean, that's realistic to them. That's important to them. Real life objects. I think of money all the time. We teach our young kids about money, but we use the plastic little pieces. And let me tell you, they do not change. They still have the unique look. And now we have coins that on the back of them, have states and things like that. Using real money is important, realistic things, and involve the community in the lesson, somehow connecting our community of Wills Point into our lesson is so important because the kids, when they see things around town, they'll connect back to their learning or they'll connect to something, I know, and I can't remember the teacher and I apologize, but when I saw the videos, on the Wills Point Facebook page about, how they used different places around the area. And so it was just really, really great to connect the different pieces in the community and relate it back to the lesson. I think it was Miss Homer. I'm not sure. Sorry. All right. And that's just a great way. So how can we make it authentic for ourselves and for our kids? Oh, that did not go back. I'm so sorry. All right. So next, we are going to go to games. All right. So competition in a fast-paced game makes engagement automatic. Kids love to compete. Kids love to have fun. And games is just fun. So using technology to incorporate games, I know that a lot of us use like Kahoot and things like that. Even plickers will change things up a bit, or I think it's quizzes. A lot of older secondary classes use that. But using games, goose chase, as a scavenger hunt, this really engages our students, and it just helps them make it feel like the class is going much faster than it is, just because they're so engaged with the game. Using time for students to compete against themselves and even track their progress. Maybe they're doing fluency phrases and they are reading to themselves and they're tracking their goals. It could be sight word races where they're, tracking their own self and keeping up. They like to compete against themselves too. That's important. Create teams to beat against a time, and maybe not even each other, but like, hey, we're all doing this in 5 minutes. Let's see how many teams can be done. One thing you want to make sure that when you are using games, don't allow the game to have somebody sit out. Like, oh, you lost the game, you have to sit out now, because that will start turning off engagement big time. Oh, I don't want to do this, I'm going to sit down anyway, so I'll just say all the wrong answers. But if they know that they'll never be out, you have to even constantly keep working, then it makes it more engaging. Also, making sure all the students do the work. If you're doing math games or something, don't let one person give the answer. Everybody has to show the answer, and then they have to make sure that majority rules, and that's the answer they share. Or if somebody didn't get the right answer in the group, then you'll have to make sure that they get it done, correctly. So just making sure that they're all working together with these games and interacting with that. So how will we add games to our lessons for more engagement? All right, I've got 2 tickets here, but 2 different things. Let's go to explore. Exploring always leads to an adventure. You always think that, pirates go exploring, we have Christopher Columbus, all kinds of things. They went out to explore things, and it created a great new adventure. Have them research their own topics, like Genius Hour. That is so much fun. I will tell you, we had a teacher doing Genius Hour here on our campus, and one of probably the best topics ever was a little girl had researched how to do the JoJo bows. That was huge. Now, she ended up presenting her information and sharing all kinds of stuff, but that was her topic, and that's what she loved, was JoJo. And so she researched that, and she put all her stuff together for, the presentation or however it was done. But I just thought that was so great because, who in a classroom would we go, okay, today we're going to learn about JoJo bows? No, you wouldn't do that. So letting them research their own topics and really diving into things, that's huge. Discover what students notice about objects or articles and teachers, and then fill in the gaps. You don't necessarily have to start off with this big, long lecture. You can pass out an article and have them read it. And then what do you notice? And then you jump off from there. That's kind of, what do they already know? They're exploring their own understanding of things, because they may have a lot of insight that we've never even seen or thought about from their perspective. So that's a great way to do things. I was thinking about, even coins. A lot of times, sometimes we might even, tell our kids, well, this is what the characteristics are, and, things like that. But if we handed them a bunch of coins and asked them what they noticed about them, they could probably come up with all those characteristics. And then if they don't, you fill in those gaps and those pieces. I was trying to think of something else off my head. Can't, sorry. All right. So, and experiments, that kids love experiments, STEM activities, anything like that where they are exploring their options. And guess what? Learning doesn't take place if you already know how to do something. That pathway is already there in our brain. Learning only takes place if it's something we don't understand. So them exploring things and them experimenting, that's when that new learning happens. So how are we going to incorporate exploration into all of our lessons? Not all, sorry. All right. And we're going to go right here. And disguise. Okay. So obviously that's what I incorporated into my lesson today, was disguise. I know you should have seen me driving down the road to get to school to do this. Had lots of looks. But anyway, I don't mind. I love it. So anyway, so we want to make something or someone unrecognizable. You can go in and disguise your room and just something totally different. Room transformations are huge. I've seen all kinds. We've had some great ones this last year in our building. We had bat caves, we had igloos. Our first grade hall was an Arctic. Was the Arctic, and you walked in and there was like a strobe light going, or like a little light going, and then it was blue and things like that. That was so engaging for our kids because they were learning about the Arctic animals. So you can do that. And I'm not talking about primary. I'm talking about, what if you're studying the war? You can turn your desk around and they're all sitting in trenches, or if you're doing decimals, you could set it up as a restaurant and learn about money using decimals as a menu. Okay, you can do lots of things. It doesn't have to be extravagant either. It could be a few little things, and the kids and the students are going to go, wow, this is crazy, this is great. Okay, you can become another person. Obviously, that's what I did today. I was the Mad Hatter, just because I haven't used this hat and this in a very long time, and Emma did my makeup, so it was a lot of fun. So anyway, we just had a good time with it. But we also can have another actor or another person come in as a different part, another educator. They can come in and be somebody, or if you're studying history, they can come in and be so-and-so. You can do lots of great things with disguise. And just, it could be your room, it could be yourself, it could be other people. It's just great. So anyway, so how will you add disguise to your lesson? Now, the thing about what I was teaching about today was, it's not a part, yes, we have our Wills Point learning experience and we have our unit designs, but the piece is, these are things you can do with a lesson in a day. So each lesson you can incorporate something different where it's not monotonous or anything. You're doing different things. Like, I might be a disguised person once every 9 weeks, or redo the room once every 9 weeks or something. But once a week I can add some novelty piece to it. Or I can go, I'm going to do a game in this lesson. But every lesson can have some kind of engagement piece to it, some kind of technique that you're using to engage our students. You're creating that experience for the kids. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions. I'm not the Mad Hatter, but I am Brandy Pearson. I'm the instructional coach at the primary school, and I'm at brandy.pearson@WPISD. So if you have any questions, and I can't wait to read your responses and your Padlet, and just know that stepping out of your comfort zone and everything is okay. It's great because, like I said, you're modeling that for students, and that's exactly what we want our kids to do, is to take those risks and to do those crazy things that's all about learning and all about fun. So let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for your time.